Hey everyone, welcome to episode, what is this, 6 now? Episode 6?
I think it's 6.
Episode 6 of the Big Boy Show. The three amigos are back, me, Jason, and Craig. That's what I've named us now. You can't go back, no backsies. We have a great guest today who we will introduce in just a second. There's a lot of not great sports information that has come out, so we are unfortunately going to discuss that, but hopefully things will get a lot more interesting and fun in just a bit with our special guest. So without further ado, let's introduce our special guest. Hey, Joe, why don't you let the people know who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff.
Hey, guys. My name is Joe. I am from Michigan State. So the second Michigan State representation on this podcast after Evan from last guest. I am I just finished my third year, and I am a member of our Big Ten Flag Corps. So, pretty interesting stuff.
And we will definitely get into that just a little bit. But first, we kind of have to talk about sad boy hours now with what may or may not happen when it comes to college sports. For those that didn't see over the past week, the Ivy League, I don't know if it happened before last week's pod or what, but the Ivy League canceled.
I think it was earlier this week. I think it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Ivy League canceled all fall sports for this season. Don't know, or I guess for the upcoming semester, don't know if they're going to happen this spring, but it looks like they might. And then the Big Ten and Pac-12 both announced that they are going to conference-only schedules for sports. I know the Big Ten announced for all fall sports, and I believe that the Pac-12 said only for select sports, but I know that obviously football is included in that. As COVID-19 cases are rising around the country, I know specifically for Maryland, they just shut down workouts because I think it was like 20 players or something like that, or 20 student athletes ended up testing positive. And it's still a very fluid situation. It's not a very good situation. So I kind of wanted to get, now the July 11th update as the day that we record now, the July 11th update of where we think that the season is going to be, if there's going to be a college football season or if there's going to be a season for any fall sports. I mean, we've already seen that the Ivy League is not going to have anything, but what do we think about the other conferences around the college sports world?
So I think it's very difficult to say. I mean, because everything's so up in the air, and I kind of see this step as like the beginning of the end. Just the same way that everything happened in the spring with basketball. Like one tournament went to no fans. Then the next was like no fans. Then all of a sudden they all just started canceling like in the middle. Some were already like playing. I know the Big Ten the Big Ten tournament was canceled after the first round, while there were literally players on the court warming up to begin their game in like 15 minutes, and they called it off. Players walked back, and I think then that obviously progressing to all spring sports being canceled. I think that same thing is kind of about to happen, especially as cases are now starting to pick up again. I just see history repeating itself in the fall. So as much as I hate to say it,
I'm inclined to share your opinion. As sad as I am about it, it's kind of, it feels inevitable, especially like we said with how uncertain everything is at the moment from, every facet of life as we know it is super uncertain, and it's looking our sports, it's going to be no different there.
It seems like it's just fair to assume at this point, like, that it's not going to happen. Even if they get somehow football started, I don't even think, like, there'll be anyone there, to be honest. And if there is people there, I feel like it's not going to continue having people there, especially with the state of just the country at this time.
Yeah. I think, though, the one thing that I think will be a benefit from this, at least in my opinion, is I think Rutgers is going to do well if we don't play this year. Personally, I think for Rutgers football's sake, I think there being no season would be the best outcome. Now, given for all of my friends who are going to be seniors in the Rutgers band, for your sakes, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope you still get to have your senior season. But in terms of football, I think right now we just brought in a Greg Schiano, new coach or returning coach, I guess, into a broken system, and he was supposed to have a spring to kind of get to work with the players and build all that stuff, get them used to his system, get his offense how he wants it, get his defense the way he wants it. Didn't have the spring, so all of a sudden it was going to be summer training and then season, which is not a lot of time. And I think that was really going to hurt Rutgers in the down the line, which would cause us to lose more games or to be less competitive in games that likely would have been at least a coin flip. And then those games that would have been coin flips, we would have done significantly worse, and which would have hurt us in recruiting. So down the line, I think Rutgers still benefits if Big Ten cancels play.
I'd say the same thing even for Michigan State with our hiring of Mel Tucker. Like you said, coming into what I would consider a relatively broken system, albeit our defense was still fairly well ranked at the end of the season. I agree. I think particularly teams that are introducing new coaches really need time to rebuild, time to really be able to show what they're capable of come maybe the 2020-2021 season, or what we would be capable of rather during that time. So I think even we are in a similar situation as I would say Rutgers is.
Yeah, at least so I completely understand both your perspectives where, a new coach coming into the system, it gives them an extra year. I also think that in the same way hurts them, because if you think about it, that means you have to wait a year to actually, actually start coaching in live games. And even though you get to understand the system more and you're able to do that stuff, you don't really get to show that until next season. So you have to wait a full year, and things might devolve in that year. Who knows? So it has both positives and negatives. I think I'm, really thinking about it in the same perspective as Craig, what you said about, seniors at Rutgers, seniors at every Big Ten band, seniors at every college band. If there is no season and all of that stuff, oh my God, I feel so bad for them and what they would have to go. I don't know how the season would be with everything like that. And I wish I could say that definitively there was a way to, salvage everything. But I'm sure that if there's going to be no season, then there's going to be no point in trying to actually, put something together in terms of a band. And they might still do things, but I'm sure to ensure the safety of all of the players and all of the marchers, that they're not going to go through leaps and bounds in order to figure that out and in order to get everyone together, when in reality getting everyone together for band might actually be the worst thing to do.
Exactly.
I like said in my intro, I just finished my third year. I would be going into my fourth year. So I'm pretty much perfectly in that demographic. Jason, I think you're also in a similar situation. And I'm actually in a relatively fortunate situation where I already am kind of planning on taking at least an extra semester. So I will be more than likely will be lucky enough to get at least a final year, if not a more normalized final year in the organization. But I agree it does hurt those who aren't in the same situation as me, where they had no intention of taking a fifth year, and where that might leave them with their overall opinions on marching even. Because I know this will certainly be kind of hurtful to some kids, some marchers. This will definitely be a painful experience for them, getting deprived of the senior year. So
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I remember when the basketball tournament was cut short this year, and that's how I ended my senior. I remember I was really pissed. And one of my housemates, he was a junior, he's going into his senior year, and he was like you can't be mad at Rutgers, and you can't be mad at the Big Ten. It's not their fault. And I was kind of mad at the universe. I was blaming like Rutgers in the Big Ten. But like but I was like, at least you're gonna get your senior year, and like at least you're gonna have your full senior year. And now that history is playing out the way it is, and we're still on this course, and I feel like I owe you an apology, Brian. So formally, I'm sorry for saying that at least you're gonna have a full senior year. And it really does suck, just because so many people look forward to it. And like for athletes, the NCAA will just say, whatever, this year doesn't count, play next year. But for band kids who aren't on like a full ride scholarship, who aren't just there to do band, unlike the athletes who are for the most part are just there to play football, you missed your senior year, sorry. Like, and so I feel really, really bad for all those upcoming seniors, especially the ones that aren't planning on taking an extra semester. Like most people would in a normal situation would be like, oh darn, I have to take a fifth year, I have to take an extra semester. But like it's gotten to the point where it's like, oh yes, I get to take that extra semester so I can be back hopefully in 2021. It's
even in the astronomically low chance that there is a semblance of band this year, for the people whose senior year it is, it's not going to be anything comparative to what it probably has been.
exactly.
And I mean, there's no definitive way of putting that. Like, obviously things could change, but there is slim to no chance that there's going to be any semblance of normalcy. You're going to have something messed up, and you're not going to get to experience band in the way that it's meant to be.
I think like
gonna be weird
for people that like watch this that aren't in marching band, which I'm sure there's a few of, I bet. But basically, like we all know, and everyone that's in marching band will know that marching band is something that's very special, and it's special to everyone that's in it. And the thing is, you only really get to do it for 4 years in high school and then for 4 years in college, unless you decide to stay another semester or two. Then you get more years. But like Craig was saying, we don't have that extra year of bonus if we don't get to March year. Like 1 year lost is a year lost. That's like, for some of us, that's a fourth of like our best times in college is that year of marching band and that semester of marching band. And when that's gone, it's like, that's a really big chunk of like your entire like marching career. And it really sucks to lose that. So like, if you see someone that's currently in like a college band and is still there and hasn't graduated yet, you should give them a hug because they're probably
Give them an air hug. Give them an air hug.
A socially distanced hug.
Exactly. 6 feet apart.
I compare it most, or this kind of feeling, for people that don't understand like the in and outs of marching band because they weren't marchers, to having an athlete in their final season get a season-ending injury. Like, you know, I would say that like you're just being deprived of what could have been your like just your time. You're deprived of your opportunity. So
yeah,
exactly. On a slightly different note, still kind of on the same page. Still obviously talking about referring to COVID-19 because there's not that much in the sports world right now that doesn't get affected by that. But one thing that I found to be a very interesting little thing is to see what's going on with budgets, because obviously all these schools are now facing massive budget issues. Faculty from all different parts of the universities are getting laid off just because there's not money because people aren't going to be on campus. And so that's causing a serious issue. So for coaches that were it's like in the hot seat, they kind of have lucked out a little bit because now there's no money for contract buyouts. So I know when we fired Chris Ash, he had $8 million left in his contract that was still guaranteed. So he got a very nice buyout. I think it was $4 million left in an $8 million contract. I don't know. He had a lot of money still guaranteed. But there was money left in the contract or in the budget for his buyout. So we were lucky that we made the call when we did, because if we said, let's see how he does next season, well, there's no money now for a bad coach to get fired and to then bring in somebody new with signing bonuses and contract negotiations. So for all those currently suffering programs that were thinking about getting rid of your head coach, I am sorry. You're going to have to deal with it for a little longer.
Yeah, you get another year of that. So.
Yeah. But I think that, we've had enough doom and gloom for now.
Exactly.
And so I think that let's try to think about the more positive that are going on, especially this interview that we're going to have with Joe. And also that, there are sports going on. They're slowly getting back. The MLS is back. The NWSL is back. Baseball is hopefully going to come back. The NHL is coming back in August. There's apparently, if everything works out, I think it's like August 5th. There's like 15 or so, or 20 games, just like NHL, MLB, NBA, all going on the same day. Oh my God. If that happens, everything works out to plan. These last 4 months, I'll be like, that's fine. Like, I'll take it if I can just have
sports overload. Absolutely.
I will take sports overload. I need it because
you're getting a Thanksgiving dinner, not one of the NBA bubble meals.
No, hey, the bubble meals aren't bad. They're not bad. It's like,
no, I'm just jumping on the train.
It's better than like getting like a freaking turkey leg if you go to like Magic Kingdom. You're like, let me get this $1 turkey leg and just walk around the park like a normal person and try to eat it.
There's a picture of me at a Somerset Patriots game with a turkey leg.
Of course there is.
If I can find the picture, I'll throw it up in the YouTube. The YouTube
shout out the Somerset
for
Patriots
everybody to see.
Shout out the Somerset Patriots for creating a fake baseball team this summer.
Oh, thank you guys. That is it for those of you that aren't from New Jersey. You likely have not. Even those of you who are from New Jersey, you probably don't.
People that don't know who professional baseball that well.
So here's the story that's going on in the Central Jersey minor league baseball world. So what is it? I think it's called the Patriot League.
No, it's the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball. It's an independent baseball league where none of the teams are affiliated with a major league team.
Yeah, so they're like it's entertaining to watch if you've got absolutely nothing else to do on a summer day. That league, just like everything else, canceled everything. But the Somerset Patriots in Somerset, New Jersey, they were like, we still want to make some money. We still have costs. Like, we still have this stadium. We still have to pay taxes. And let's make a little profit. So the owner decides we're going to make a second team. And he makes a team called the New Jersey Blasters.
I know. I thought they were called like the Bridgeport Blasters. Or
No, so I think their name, I first thought it was the Bridgewater Blasters because they're in Bridgewater, which is like where the Somerset Patriots actually play. But so they're called the New Jersey Blasters. I think their roster has been announced, and there's going to be, I think, a 12-game season between the two teams playing at TD Bank Ballpark in Bridgewater, New Jersey. So, like, if you really need your fix, make sure you go check out the Somerset Patriots versus the New Jersey Blasters. I think they stream on Facebook Live, the Somerset Patriots. So definitely go check them out there if you're interested.
Again, what I would give for one of those schedules.
Yeah, one of those pocket schedules, I would love.
I collect pocket schedules. Like, I have like a whole box. I probably have like 300 to 400 pocket schedules. Like, I'm trying to get like 2020 schedules. So like, I got like a Philly schedule. I'm trying to get a Rays schedule in some sort of way. But like, man, what I would give to have one of those. What I would give to just have like a normal, like a 2020 schedule for like a 162 game season. And just see that like none of that's gonna happen.
It's just all dash marks.
It's all dash marks.
Canceled. Yeah, and then so they're letting 450 people into the stands for each game, which I can't imagine their normal attendance was much more than that. I might be way off.
No, their stadium seats 6,000. So I'm assuming
but that stadium I've never seen even close to full.
Well,
except
I'm sure
for like
they get a couple thousand.
Maybe they do. I don't know. that was
Gotta
just
give him some credit, man. Come on.
valid. I do enjoy
Gotta give
going
him
to their
some credit.
games when there's not a pandemic.
Hey, please, Somerset Patriots, please sponsor us. But yeah, so enough sports talk. Why don't we get on to our interview? Since we want to make sure that we can get as much out of this as possible. So Joe, we have a lot of questions to ask you, and I'm sure that you're very ready.
I'm excited.
Jason's wearing his Spartan Marching Band shirt
SMB
150.
because he's a traitor to Purdue, apparently.
No, I'm just a big fan of the other bands too.
Yeah, sure. But
I love that.
but I think with all interviews, why don't we start at the beginning? So, how did you get involved in marching band? Did you do it in high school? Did you do it in, how did you get involved with it in terms of college? How did everything manifest itself for you when it came to marching band?
So I like to think I have a more different backstory than a good majority of marchers, where I actually never did it in high school. I was a swimmer through the entirety of my K-12 education. And both of my older sisters were big into marching band in high school. And then they both attended Michigan State. They both auditioned and made it into the SMB, had their 4 years each. And even like as far as my senior year of high school, I wasn't really too seriously looking into the SMB. I was just like, I mean, I don't do marching band. I don't play an instrument. I haven't played an instrument since I was in 5th grade. But I'm looking into other things to do around campus. And then my sister, my middle sister, she marched for the Big Tens, told me about the section and how you don't really have to have any marching experience prior to make it in. You just have to be like willing to learn and willing to train for it. And at that point, I kind of knew. I was like, I love swimming, but I'm not going to be able to continue it into my college career because I'm not like a national champion swimmer. I was pretty good for what I was doing, but I wasn't the next Michael Phelps. So I looked more into marching band, and I went to my audition and made it in, and immediately fell in love with the program. I fell in love with just the SMB as a whole and the Big Tens, because they were incredibly accepting of the fact that I had no prior experience. They taught me how to stay on rhythm. They taught me how to get proper form and how to practice for it, how to do all this stuff. And they've become my second family. They are just a fantastic section. And they've taken me under their wing, and I've learned a lot about marching and marching band through the process. So it's pretty fascinating stuff.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about swimming. So obviously, doing it through high school. Well, first off, shout out to Maryland for not having a swimming and diving team anymore, yet having the best male and female swimmer probably of all time come from Maryland, but not go there.
Yeah.
Katie Ledecky, Michael Phelps.
Katie Ledecky, my girl.
She actually, shout out, we should try to get her on the pod because she does play alto saxophone and was in the Leland Stanford Junior University Marching Band, LSJUMB. I wanted to make sure I got all of that right. But yeah, she was there. She was in it. So Katie, if you're listening, which I'm definitely sure that you are, like
one of the greatest female athletes of our time.
Please come on.
Yeah.
But so with swimming, did you consider trying to do it in college at all? And how did that go?
I actually kind of tried to start an open communication with MSU's swim coach. I attended a lot of their swim meets as kind of team bonding stuff in high school. Like we would always come as just a team thing. We would attend the MSU U of M swim meet because we were always like, it's the Michigan State one. Let's go. And then Michigan would dominate us because they have, at my last time of checking, they were like the number 5 team in the nation. They are just incredibly talented swimmers. but I would talk with the swimmers there. I would talk with the coaches and kind of like try to like talk myself up a little bit and be like, hey, I'm around. And then it just never really went anywhere. They were just like, yeah, you have to have like way faster times than what you're showing us in order to come act part of the program. They were pretty blunt with me about it. They were like, yeah, we're probably not going to scout you. I'm sorry.
At least they were honest and didn't waste your time.
Oh, no, they didn't beat around the bush at all. They were just like...
No, that's good. Hey, sometimes you need that. Honesty is the best policy.
Oh, I 100% agree. And then they actually, I will give them a lot of props. They did direct me towards the IM swim club, which is still pretty competitive league. And that's something I've also been participating in for the past like year now, is participating in the IM swim league. So
well, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's very cool. Now, Jason, since you are someone who is way more obsessed with the SMB than me, I think you have a lot of questions that you want to ask Joe. So I'm going to let you take the floor and ask as many things as you want to about that, and then I'll jump back on.
I do have a few things for everybody. So we do have a survey for people listening that you can take where you can ask us questions and you can give us some feedback, and we'll look at it.
It's a pretty good survey. Like,
I filled it out.
8.7 out of 10.
We got some questions. So first of all, spats or no spats, guys?
Spats.
Spats? Team spats?
Nah.
We got 2 for spats, and I bet Rutgers is in it. Do you guys know what spats are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, nah.
Yeah,
almost.
You gotta see that low chair.
I ain't with it.
If you're doing a high step, then it's like, all right, it looks good. But like, if you're just roll stepping, it's just unnecessary. So
never did spats in high school. Never did spats in college. Just
show off the spat, man.
Yeah, you gotta see that toe point. Anyway, okay. So next quick question. Game day lunches. What do we have for game day lunches?
Well, it depends on what's going on at the tailgate.
Yeah, that's true.
Jersey Mike's sub with a cookie and a bag of chips in the box.
That's
provided by Athletics, I think. And a bottle of water, sometimes completely frozen so you can't actually drink it.
But on those hot days, I'm sure it comes in handy. You know,
yes.
Stuff that up the uniform.
Yeah.
On those hot days, it comes in handy until you're like, darn, I couldn't drink anything, and now I'm passing out on the field.
I guess I didn't consider
which has happened.
Well, I mean, you win some, you lose some. You know.
Yeah, there's
you work it out. Yeah, but no, I mean, at least for Maryland, it all depends on what's going on at the tailgate, because we have different things for different tailgates. So like, we'll have like a breakfast themed tailgate. We'll have like a Mexican / like a taco themed tailgate. We'll do like pasta and stuff like that. I think that like the taco tailgates are the best one, in my humble opinion, because I am a sucker for tacos and I make a mean quesadilla. So like, if anyone wants to come over to my place, if you can find me, which I hope you don't, but I make some mean quesadillas.
Our game days are also the same thing with tailgates, and it kind of depends on whatever our lovely parents prepare us that day. But we also get a nice hot dog when we get to Ross-Ade.
We don't get hot dogs.
You either eat it or you don't eat it. Some people don't. Some people just find it appalling. I think it's really good. My friend never liked them, so he just got one, and I ate his hot dog, so I had 2 hot dogs.
I always love hot dogs. Hot dogs are great.
Hot dogs
they're pretty good. They're not bad.
Nothing better than a hot dog in a baseball game.
Or a football game.
Nah.
Our final question.
R.I.P.
From our survey is, I guess the question is, what percent of your band are music majors versus engineers? But I think we should answer those separately. So, what percent of your guys' bands are music majors? What'd you say?
I don't have an exact like number off the top of my head. They actually did tell us at one point, like, it's not actually as large of a number for us as you'd think. Like, we do have a tremendous amount of non-music majors in our band. It's actually kind of impressive with our size that our number of music majors is as relatively low as it is. But
I was going to say, at least for Maryland, I would say under 25%, probably under 20% for music majors. I don't know about STEM majors specifically. I think I was there may have been 3 people in my entirety of marching band that were journalism majors. 3. One of them was me, one of them was a girl on the dance team, and one of them was a twirler, and one of them was Lexi, who was our twirler, who we ended up having the same capstone spring semester of our senior year, which was extremely hilarious because we were just, by then we were just done with it. We were just done with bands. We were just like, yo, so like band, right?
I could not tell you the statistics of the breakdown if I wanted to. I think there was a survey done like my sophomore or junior year of the band. So I was a 5th year, so that was what, 3 years ago if it was my junior year. I think, if I'm doing math correctly. I don't know. It's a weekend in July of 2020. I don't know how to think. But it's whatever. I don't think there are that many music majors, because I'm not sure how it is now, but I know my sophomore year when I was a music major, it was discouraged for music majors to do the band. And they said, oh, we have a class that just teaches you what you need to know to be a band director. And I was like, but you don't get that actual practice. So I don't know. I hope they don't still say that. I hope they're not still actively discouraging it. But I know there were not a lot of music majors in the Rutgers band at the time. And I know there are some, and the ones that are in it generally love it, but I don't think it's that big of a crowd. Engineers, I also don't have a number for. I think there's definitely a lot more engineers in the band though than music majors.
Mm-hmm.
I find it fascinating that they would discourage that. I mean, at State, I know it's something that's like
marching band. How dare you?
Why would you want to do that as a music major?
Idiot.
Like, because we have every year we have Spartan Spectacular, which is just our big demonstration of all our bands, and the second half is always 100% committed to the S&B. But one funny thing that I found myself going for the past few years is that if you're in the S&B but also in like concert band or in symphonic or whatever, they let you wear your uniform like while you're out with everybody else is in these black ties, black suits, and then you just see like you look over and there's somebody in their white jacket and they're just going
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I think it's because so at schools like Michigan State, the band I think is much more respected. Especially back my sophomore year, we were under a different director who was not. I personally loved him, but in the administration, there were a lot of people who didn't like him, and thought that he wasn't very good at his job, and so they kind of discouraged that. Plus, it's just taking away time when you could be practicing and working on working on jury pieces, anything for like your actual stuff. And plus the fact that the music school at Rutgers is so far away from where we practice for marching band from the stadium that it's just to get to practice and get back from practice, it could be upwards of an hour. Because we're also dealing with rush hour traffic, plus needing to go on I honestly don't know how many miles it is, but it's a considerable drive on a bad bus system. Rutgers is a scrappy place. I love it, but it's a scrappy place. So it's definitely discouraged a little bit. It was, at least in the music world. But yeah, it was very shocking when I heard them be like, don't do band. Like, oh, you're in band this year. Oh, don't do it next year. And then I was like, actually, I'm just gonna change my major next year.
It's like I'm going the complete other direction.
Yeah. And then I know specifically horn players were especially discouraged because it's a different mouthpiece that they're using because at Rutgers we use like the mellophone style, like trumpet style mouthpieces and the mellophones. As opposed to I'm Joe, you probably don't know. And a lot of listeners probably don't know. But so mellophones have two different types of mouthpieces. There's a French horn style mouthpiece and a trumpet style mouthpiece. And so Rutgers uses the trumpet style, but most of the mellophone players typically are French horn players also. But the horn teacher didn't want his students playing on this other mouthpiece that was going to screw up all the muscles and everything. So he'd be like, I don't want you doing marching band. And like, you could be adamant, like, no, I want to do it. And he'd be like, all right, chill, do your thing. But like, he'd be like, I'd rather you not. And so like, it definitely is discouraged to a degree. But I don't know how much that still is the case today. I know back in 2017, that was the case.
I can actually, this quite back to the question, but I can actually answer this question with, statistics, because we have 0 music majors in our entire department because we don't have a music school. So that's very easy for me to answer. And Purdue's also a big engineering school. And our department, it's about, the whole Purdue Band and Orchestras department is about 1,400 students. And of those 1,400, about 30% are engineers. The number for the marching band is probably a lot higher, but of the department in whole, it's 30% engineers. So we have a lot of engineers.
Side note, Craig, can you put the meme that I just put in our chat?
Joe,
shout out Texas.
Joe, so you are part of the Big Ten flag section, which not many people know about. I think we looked it up beforehand, but I think it's Purdue, Michigan State, and I think Minnesota. Very sorry for any other schools that do have a Big Ten flag section. I couldn't find any information on them. But do you so it's a section that I feel like, again, like I said, not many people know about because there's not many around. So can you like give us a little bit more information on like what the section is and how it like contributes to the marching band?
All right, so I'm going to open it up by saying we are not color guard. All the love to the color guard. They're great people. They are very talented performers. But we are our own section. We are not a formal part of the color guard. The way I like to think about it is we are the ceremonial flags more so. They are the more performative. We are kind of meant to be a sign of respect for the other teams. We are the best way to describe us is like you will see us regardless. If you come to a Michigan State game, you will see us. We lead the parade going into the stadium. That's why our motto is first on, last off, is because we are the first people onto the field and the last people to come off of it because we always surround the actual pregame block. We are just kind of the ceremonial flags is the way I like to think about it. Like we don't wave the flags or do anything. The most we will do is like a present.
You guys do a stab though.
Yeah, the joust is one of the most famous Big Ten flag movements that we have. It is during our parade. Catch us at the right time, and we'll just poke you forward.
It's pretty cool. I love watching the MSU band parade. I think you guys call it a series, but I just love watching that whole band. I think it's really awesome. But there's one thing that you might notice about the MSU band that you won't notice about any of the other Big Ten bands, is they don't look very happy and very like they love to see you there when they're marching. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, don't get me wrong. We love to see you. We love to hear you guys support us. We love to hear all of the cheers or whatever coming from the stand or from the stands when we come on field. But we will always maintain a stern expression. We will always be serious. We will treat things with the utmost like respect for the air of competition. Like there's lines that need to be towed, but I always keep in mind like we're here because we're here to support a competition. We are the number one fan section for our football team. We will take everything with the utmost like seriousness. So we love to see everybody. Trust me, the amount of times I've been doing the parade and seen like a couple friends in the parade and I wanted to like wave and smile at them or whatever. But we have to take everything very seriously because it's a serious thing for us. We take our athletic program very seriously. We take pride in our school very seriously. So we want to express that in the most visual of way.
Yeah, I noticed. You'll notice that they look very. I think you're supposed to keep a straight face. Is it
Stern? That's our
stern face.
That's our look.
Okay, so do they like go through that at band camp where they're just like, show me your stern face? And you're just like, they're just like, that's it.
They just don't want you to smile. That's one thing I can tell you is they do not want you to smile. They don't want you to look angry. They don't want you to look mean, but they do want you to be like composed,
serious.
Yeah.
So what happens if you like? Is there anything that happens to you if you do smile?
I don't think I can go very much into that, but as much as I love my alumni friends, as much as I love all the people that used to be Big Tens, that used to be bandos, I will say, I hate you guys for constantly trying to make me smile and make me break, because that's just something you have to get used to. Is a former alumni will come up to you, will just start yelling out the most absurd nonsense during the parade, and they will try to break you. So it's a serious tradition that tends to become more of a personal challenge.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Another thing is we talked earlier, and you said that at band camp, your number one, your band is an audition band, so you have to audition to make the band. And actually, I'm going to compare it to Purdue's Big Ten flags because I don't know much about Minnesota's. Please, someone from Minnesota, come on the podcast. But basically, not many people audition specifically for Big Ten flags. Those that do are usually returners that have marched already that come back to go back to the section. But a lot of the times what happens with Big Ten flags is like about a third of the way, maybe a little later through band camp, are the section leaders of the other sections, like the winds and the percussion sections, will go up to like maybe the people that can play and they can march well, but they just can't connect the two. So they'll go up to those people and say, hey, it's just not working right now. You might have the best shot for you would be to go maybe to the Big Ten flags, where all you would have to worry about is working on your marching. And you're already good at that, so I think you'd have a very good shot at making that section. Would you say that it's about the same at MSU? I know you guys are slightly different because you guys don't march flutes, piccolos, or clarinets, I believe.
Yep. We march brass. We don't march any woodwind aside from saxophone.
Saxes, right? Yeah. So, like, maybe that's a factor why you get so many, but can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So, actually, for us, in the past few years, the popularity of auditioning just for the tens has grown, like, dramatically. Like, I know I mentioned this to, I think, Alex before, but in the past few years, like, my freshman year, there were 15, 20 of us auditioning for 7 spots. Last year, there were like 30 people there auditioning for 10s. And admittedly, not all of them were like there because they were passionate about being 10s. It's because all of our audition dates are on different days. Like our drumline auditions like months early. And people that know they didn't make drumline can come to our auditions if they want to still be in the band. And actually, it's been kind of to our benefit, too, that they moved our audition date to be on the same day as Hornline. Because it used to be, like, we would get a few of the people that would come back to campus after knowing they weren't going to make it with Hornline or weren't confident about their audition with Hornline. And they would come back to campus and audition to be a 10. But now we're all on the same day, so they can actually go through some marching fundamental training with Hornline. And then if they want, they can stick around for like an hour later and learn some more exclusive stuff to the tens, like flag movements and stuff like that. That said, that has dramatically increased the number of people. Like, I think in total auditioning for tens last year, there were like 40 plus people that were wanting to get into our section. And last year was pretty hard because we had a limited number of spots. Being constrained to 18 spots in our section makes it very competitive to get in. So you're really looking for the best of the best of the best. But yeah, we get people, we do actually, I will say, we get a handful of people that are there just to try out for tens because they know us. And it doesn't hurt that, you know, if your parent is looking for you in the crowd, it's much easier to see you if you've got this 10-foot flag. You just say, hey, I'm carrying that one. And you're pretty easy to point out.
And from the stands, like, that's my kid with the flag, the Iowa flag right there.
Yeah.
So what flag do you hold? What's your flag?
That is determined. We actually do basically flag auditions during our preseason for the first half of the season. And then at the midpoint, we do a full re-audition. And I really admire the section for establishing that because it gives people that weren't very confident at the beginning another chance to get a better flag. And when I say better, it's very arbitrary. Like there isn't actually a set order for like what's the best flag and what isn't. The only thing established is Michigan and Michigan State are the section and squad and section leader respectively. But in my time, I have carried, I was an alternate my entire freshman year. And our alternates every week audition for the rotating chair flags, which are Minnesota and Illinois. Yeah. But I have carried Northwestern, Purdue, Wisconsin, and Rutgers. So I'm just
haven't carried the best one yet.
He did carry Purdue. He just said that.
All of them.
No, what are you talking? I mean, it would be better if you like carried out like the Maryland state flag.
I guess
it's a nice flag.
Here.
I carried Iowa for one game freshman year, but
and the flag's gone.
So, actually, during band camp, one of the biggest decisions for anybody who's in that position of, hey, we think Big Ten flags would be a good fit for you. A huge thing that many people don't know about is the decision whether or not to audition for Big Ten flags, because being a good marcher still doesn't guarantee you a spot in the band, even with Big Ten flags. So like you have this decision to make of, okay, should I stay with the section that I wanted to be originally with, or do I go to a section which I might have a better shot at? Either way, there's still a chance of you getting, not making the band. But do you want to take that chance and audition for a different section, or do you want to just keep on the path and try your best to audition for the section that you intended to join the band with? Do you guys have that sort of decision, or is it what can you say about that?
I mean, I guess because we go by a policy of after your first audition, if you've made it, you've made it. Like it's very rare that we see people get cut like during band camp or during preseason. We really just like, once you make it, you make it. But it's all about like where you personally feel like you're going to succeed. Because a lot of times people that are auditioning for Hornline and for Big Tens are auditioning because they either feel like their audition didn't go as well as they wanted, or they just want to give something else a try. And I 100% advocate for people that if they want to try it, they should try it. It's also because I know for a fact that some of our members have made it into the sections they initially auditioned for and the Big Tens, and it came down to what do you want to actually do. One of our mutual friends made it into both color guard and the tens, and she stuck with tens.
Is it Dana?
Yeah.
Shout out Dana Stoblin.
Yeah. She made it into color guard and tens and chose to come hang out with us because I think part of it is she also knew that she would be, I mean, you're going to be easier to point out if you're a Big Ten. No offense, color
big
guard,
flag.
but yeah, I think there is an element of like, do I really want to go for this? Do I really want to try something that I'm not overly familiar with and maybe make it in? But it's the benefit, I guess, is that it's not mutually exclusive. Like if you make it into both, you can go for the one that you want to go to more.
Okay, that's different from what I've seen here. From what I've seen, you either have to audition, like that's why the decision is such a big decision, is because you either have to go audition for the Big Tens or you have to audition, for example, like the Mellophones. You can't audition for both, make both, and choose one. You have to go full send on one.
Yeah,
like put all your cards and eggs into one basket, so to speak.
That definitely adds a pressure that I will say we don't have. Like we are pretty nice about like playing to our performers' strengths. Like if you felt better at this audition and you made both, go for the one that you felt better at or the one that you felt more suited what you want, the marching band. So
And then real quick before we move on to our next topic, the big old school of North Michigan and the same state rivalry. I just have one more quick thing to say about the Big Tens. I'm sure, Joe, you can attest to this, but the Big Ten flags are a great section for if you have any friends who don't play like an instrument in the marching band, like play a string instrument, or in Joe's case, like never played an instrument at all, and then would like to do marching band and to have really wanted to do it. If your school has a Big Ten flag program, which hopefully more of the Big Ten schools will begin to get one, but it's a great way for other students who are not playing marching instruments to get involved in the marching band and to be in that awesome community. So
the way it was marketed to me by my sister, who was a Big Ten, she ended up being a squad leader in the Big Tens by her senior year, is even if you're not like familiar with marching band as a whole, you're starting your college career with 300 friends. Like you are already a member of a strong community of people that will take care of you. So it's 100% like super, super awesome thing to have where you don't have to have that much experience going into it and you will learn. So it's cool.
A lot of the Big Ten flag sections get to lead the bands out. So that's a pretty cool thing too.
First on, last off.
Okay. So last thing, Michigan. So you guys have a Michigan State game, I assume every year. And I'm assuming it switches off between East Lansing and Ann Arbor, right?
Yep,
how is the atmosphere, especially when going to Ann Arbor? Like, because I'm assuming the MSU band goes to Michigan for that game.
That is the only stadium where I have been, or where we always knew we were going to go. We have in the past few years we have expanded like other stadiums we've gone to, like we went to Ohio State last year, but Michigan is always the place we always know we're going to go, because we need to support our boys. We need to support the team. So it's a really interesting atmosphere, because no matter where you go, if you are going to a rival team's town, there's going to be hecklers. But there's also going to be sympathizers. Like there's still obviously a pretty strong community of Spartans that go to Ann Arbor to support us, or even live near Ann Arbor or live in Ann Arbor, that are going to come out and support us. And I will actually give them a lot of credit. They really don't have a tendency to like heckle the band. I've seen that happen before. I actually had a personal experience with it, with being heckled by a kind of begrudging fan, which was the most interesting end to that story, because the guy standing next to him was like, "Dude, it's the band. Relax." It's a very interesting atmosphere. Like everyone on their staff, their team, like their football team, their rival band, they're all incredibly welcoming. Like the Michigan band, they had a reception for us after the game. The actual cool part was they played our pregame and halftime shows like on this projector, like after the game. It was really cool because it's something we don't usually see. It's not something we usually see until like a week later. So anybody that like formally wears those colors like as a part of the team has always been very, very welcoming, very accepting of us. Some fans have been a little bit less kind, but when it comes down to it, it's like, you know, I will gladly take the kind words of a peer over a drunk fan. So
Yeah.
I don't know if like I'm gonna ask Alex and Craig to think about if you have any stories about getting heckled as a band member. But the one memory that I have was my freshman year when we played Ohio State. We were marching into the stadium and there was a ton of Buckeye fans there. There was so much red there; it was insane. But we passed right next to the opposing section's fans, and this one guy from the stands was like, "Get your knees up! They're not high enough." And we were just, and then like I was thinking to myself, I was like, "That's kind of mean. I feel like my knees are pretty high." And then my section, like I marched in our section leader's line, and he looked over down the line. He was like, "You heard the man. Get your knees up!" So we were like, "Oh no!"
that's usually our alumni.
Yeah,
Like when I said they try to break you.
It was really funny, and it was like a double whammy that I wasn't expecting.
It was probably
but
like
yes.
an Ohio State band alum, if I had to guess. Because like I feel like that's not a thing that like most people would comment on. Like I feel like most people aren't like watching the knees. I don't know. I mean,
Point that toe more.
That might just be my roll step mind, you know. But
I can say personally, there's only one time that I've really had that experience, and you're never gonna guess where it was. Just take a wild guess.
Rutgers.
yeah.
Yep.
Wait, really?
Yep. It was at Rutgers.
About ready to disprove
Rutgers
that.
is hardcore, guys.
So where we come in is like right where the student section is. So I just had a bunch of Rutgers students yelling at me and like yelling in our general direction. And I'm like, I'm from New Jersey. Like there's a reason why I didn't go to Rutgers, and you people up there are the reason why. Like you are the physical, visual, and vocal representation of why I didn't go to Rutgers. Thank you for explaining my point.
I will say this: Rutgers fans are mean people.
Maryland fans are worse, but like,
IU fans are the worst.
I'd say I would agree. The only time I've been heckled as a band member, was at IU. It was my freshman year, my first time traveling, and we were walking into the stadium in our uniforms. And we were actually already told, like, hey, you can't bring your instruments into the stadium. So we had flown out to Indiana, or we'd been flown out to Indiana for basically nothing. Because, like, we were just in the stadium in uniform, like, didn't bring any instruments or anything because we were told we weren't allowed to. But we were just, like, walking in, and this one drunk fan was like, hey, band, go get your Jersey butts back to Jersey. Where are your instruments anyway? And it was like, it's just like, this guy was making a drunk fool of himself, and like, and it's just like it was such an awkward phrasing, like just everything about the experience was like, what just happened? And because like, it sounded weird when I said get your Jersey butts back to Jersey. Like most of the time I'd probably say get your Jersey ass back, but that's not what he said. He kept it PG.
Really watched out for the kids.
Maybe that's just because East Coast is a little more aggressive. Maybe.
Oh, East Coast is way more aggressive, but it's funny because like I didn't even like when Maryland played Texas, like we didn't even get heckled by Texas fans, although we did win. So like as we were like walking back, I did kind of do this many times with no regrets. Hey, I'm just saying this, and we're gonna put the thing up. Maryland is 2-0 against Texas in their last two games against Texas. Texas thought that it was going to be a runaway win when they played Maryland, but Sam Ellinger, Texas is not back.
See, I did actually have like I personally haven't actually had a negative experience with a fan, but I do know a few pretty rough experiences, some that I did see firsthand. I assume we'll get into it later, but I was injured the majority of my freshman year, and they still allow us to come to the games with them. And we just kind of ride in our equipment gators, like behind the parade. And I know my freshman year, at U of M, there was a really, really aggressive drunk fan that was just horrifically heckling the band. And the worst thing that this guy ended up doing was he tried to run through the band, which is something we try to avoid.
Don't cut to the band.
But the worst thing that he did was, as he was running through, the last girl that he caught, he knocked her down and knocked her instrument out of her hand, like onto the ground. And
oh my God.
Like, we were all like horrified. We were like, this dude just like straight up almost punched her to the ground and risked damaging not only her but also her instrument. And we quickly like tried to like get her up and like see if she was okay. And then our staff dude like chased him down. Like our staff, I will give our staff so much credit. They really handled those guys. But another really like brief but interesting one was something my sister dealt with when they last went to Ohio State, because before this past season, we had not been to Ohio State in a few years. At the request of their athletic department, they had kind of requested that the Michigan State band not attend, which we thought was kind of weird. But my sister, when she went, she was carrying the Ohio State flag that year, and that is always a terrifying experience to carry that team's flag when you are going there. Well, she was standing on the sidelines, and a couple of very drunk student section members started to grab her flag because, like, I don't know if you guys have been to Ohio State Stadium. They do have a bit of like a ledge between like where the students sit and then where the field is. And like, it was just so perfectly set. So when she was standing there, her flag was like just at like a level where you could reach over and grab it. They started grabbing at it. And I assume, Jason, have you seen what our flags look like?
Yeah.
You know, they've got those like pointy tips.
They got the spear tips.
They were grabbing at the spear tip, and she just kind of like tried to like wrestle it away from them. And it hit a point where she just kind of go like
get out,
up at them to try to get them to stop.
Leave me alone.
But yeah, beyond that, it's like fans are generally respectful, but there are obviously a few outliers. Yeah. They used to tell us, watch out for the D batteries when we would go to U of M.
Oh my God.
That's the most painful thing to get.
It sounds like a Philly sports thing.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm thinking.
Legitimately, like you know, like
seriously damaging
instruments. That's a thing.
It sounds like Green Man beating on the Frenetic. Like,
yeah, it reminds me of the situation that happened this past year with the Iowa State game. When
man
got like
happened
attacked
right before we went to U of M, and we were terrified.
Yeah. I'd imagine that.
And then there was like a legit, like some sort of crazy storm that went through the stadium, and the game was delayed like a lot. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah, that was
wild.
Going back to what we said about cutting through the band, I think I'm gonna say real quick. I think it's illegal to cut through our band. I don't know if it is for you guys' bands, but I think technically, based on technicality, because we were originally a military band. And I think like we still have that classification or something around the matter. I'm probably wrong. Sorry if the directors are watching. Very sorry. But I heard a rumor that you can't legally cut through our band because we're still like part of the military thing. So like cutting through is just legal. But also, if you guys remember when I talked about our band cheer, Joe, I don't know if you know, but we have a little band cheer that kind of details a bunch of significant events in our history that we say on game day. But one of the words is bicycle. And the story behind that one is some guy tried to cut through the band on a bicycle, and the bicycle came out, but he never came out. So that's the story behind that one.
See, it's not illegal for us. It's not like genuinely illegal for them to cut through the band, but it is something that like we got so used to happening that we actually teach our incoming freshmen how to like prevent or at least expedite that happening. Like when we're doing a little bit of parade drills, like they tell you, like if someone's trying like to start coming through, you like have to stick out your hand and be like, no, you can't say anything to them. You have to be like, no. But then if it's too late and you're like in the middle of the block and someone's going through, you just try to like push them out.
Go.
Like, at that point, it's like,
And
it's
that's the
their-
real reason they always look angry.
Yeah, it's like idiots.
No one
can-
dares cut through the Michigan State band.
But,
They just all glare. Everyone in the band just turns to that person, just glares at them. They don't stop. They stay in step too. They just all turn and glare. The
we
whole
just name
band.
them in our native language.
So you briefly touched upon it, but you said you were injured for the majority of your freshman year. Can you elaborate on that? I think from what I remember, it happened during band.
It definitely did happen during band. There was, like I said, okay, I was a swimmer growing up, and so I never really did anything like running or anything like super heavy on your legs. And there's a move that we do as tens called prancing, which is objectively the most painful thing that you can do when you're marching, other than carrying a tuba. But it's basically the equivalent of running while marching. Excuse me. And so my legs were far from ready for that. And so we were blocking through our pregame, like teaching everybody how to do it. And I was a freshman, so I had no idea. And we're like starting to like kind of pick it up. And we're right at that section. We're right at the section of our pregame where, I don't know if you guys have watched it. I know, Jason, you definitely have.
Yeah.
Where the tens have to prance around the band. And it's not an easy thing to do because you're going a very far distance in a very short amount of time. And so you have to prance pretty intensely, pretty quickly. And the problem was we just kept running the same move in succession over and over and over again without like, and I have the utmost respect for our director, and he's definitely learned from this, but we kept going. We kept doing it over and over and over again. And doing that move over and over again just destroys your shins. Like our section is pretty much famous for being best friends with our medical staff because we constantly get shin splints. But me, I had never had experience with shin splints before. I didn't know what to do. And so I kept trying to get advice, like how to handle it. And even though I thought I was taking care of it, I wasn't taking care of it well enough, and ended up with stress fractures on both of my shins. So I really only did get to march like 2 or 3, before I ended up with a boot on my left leg. They decided not to double boot me because I have giant feet, so they were like, your left one is way worse. We're just going to put a boot on that leg. But I have the utmost respect for our director. He definitely learned from this. He learned to tell the tens, like, hey, we're going to do this movement over and over, so you guys just take a second and breathe. But it was definitely where it was like, it was a very injury-prone moment. So,
Marching band is dangerous. People get injured a lot during marching band, more than people might think.
So,
Okay, so now I would like to talk about what an MSU game day is like. It's like typical home game. I think you guys have a pretty significant amount of night games, so you can pick between the night and the noon.
I'm gonna go for the jugular, our favorite, the 12 o'clock noon games.
Oh, okay. You're gonna go for the noon games. All right.
Well, that's
I think a lot of band kids may disagree with you on that.
My sophomore year, we had predominantly noon games. I think the entire season we had like 3 games that were night games at home. So for us, it's like we rehearse really early in the morning. We start at like, I believe we start at 7 on noon games. So we have to meet at DEM or at our home like building where we store all of our equipment. We meet there pretty early in the morning. I'm usually there around 6. Excuse me. Jeez. So we have our 2-hour rehearsal where we run through halftime, we run through pregame. We are South Neighborhood's best friend because South Neighborhood is right next to our practice field.
Oh no.
I lived in South Neighborhood that year, and I got so much crap every time I'd come home in my band jacket. They're like, "Why are you rehearsing so early in the morning on game days? We're trying to get drunk." So we rehearse for 2 hours. Depends on if we have a visiting band. If we have a visiting band, we really only rehearse for like an hour and a half and then let them onto the field, unless we're doing a collaborative thing like we did with Ohio State. And then we have about an hour or two or an hour and a half of downtime, where that's usually where we go to our tailgates, get food, get stretched and ready to go, take some painkillers. And then we're getting into uniform. We march to Adams Field, which used to be our old practice field. Which actually this past few years, it's been under construction with our music building. So we've had to like kind of shift the way we do things. And then we do another little warm up and perform a few of our songs for the fans, because it's become such a like noteworthy event where we get a ton of like people from both state and the rival school. And one famous thing that we do there is we perform the other school's fight song, and we let a like fan or alumni of the other school come up and direct. Like they conduct us while we do the fight song, and it's a nice little thing. If it's a Big Ten school, the Tens get to prance around. Whoever's holding that flag gets to prance up and down our section to show a little bit of sign of respect for the other team. And then after that, we get into our parade block and march to the stadium, hang out in the tunnel for a bit while warm-ups are finishing, and cheer on the team as they come into the tunnel, into the locker room. And then pregame starts, go through our pregame, watch the game throughout the first half, get ready with about 10 minutes left in the second quarter to go and perform the halftime show, get back up into the stands. We get our lovely mid-game meal, which is a granola bar, a bottle of water, and an apple, which nothing tastes better than that granola bar. I'm telling you, you're exhausted and sweaty, and you're just like, I will wolf this down. Game ends. We do our post game. We play some song. If we have a visiting band, we alternate on and off who's playing what. We play our favorite song for the stands. We play "Everybody's Everything" by Carlos Santana. That's our like
Shout
signature.
out to Santana.
Yeah, we love it. We love Peter Clay, who is our marching band announcer, who always gives us a good rousing hoorah going into Everybody's Everything. Get in parade block, go back to Dem Field, have our post-game meeting basically, and we're done for the day. Just put our stuff away and go home. But like noon games, that post-game meeting is usually around like 5:30, 6 p.m. and you're like, I am horrifically tired and sore, but it's a good time regardless. Like it's always a great time, so can't go wrong.
Definitely sounds like it. Jason, are you is that everything?
Yeah, I got it.
Perfect. So I have a few quick fire questions at the end to just make sure that we hit everything. Obviously you don't do marching band 24/7, and there's a lot of things going on around campus, around East Lansing and Lansing. What are some of your favorite spots to go around campus and around the city? And what are some things that you do most often, I guess you could say?
So I know I didn't mention it earlier. I am a fashion design major at Michigan State. I know you were talking about how like there's only three journalism majors in the Maryland band. There's like 2 other fashion design majors in our marching band. So I do find myself in my art studio a lot, just working on projects. I know I've sent Jason, and you guys have all seen it, like pictures of some of the work I've done.
We're gonna plug your Instagram, your like art/woodworking/ like everything you do on Instagram. Please, we'll make sure to plug that at the end. You can shout it out
for sure. I find myself in the art studio a lot. It's a place I just love to go. There's plenty of cool things in East Lansing. Like there's the Broad Art Museum, which was featured in the trailers for Batman v Superman. That way you don't have to watch the movie to know where it is. You can just you can skip that god awful movie and just watch the trailers. You can see the Broad Art Museum. There's plenty, like, even, and we're just outside of Lansing, which is growing into a pretty robust little city on its own. It's just, I love going to our kind of various parks. Beaumont Tower is always beautiful around this time of year. There's just plenty of, like, you make your time fun at Michigan State. I mean, I don't know. There's always something going on, no matter what.
Well, that's definitely good that that's going on. I'm trying to think. I have one thing to end it, but I know we didn't talk about protecting Sparty during.
Sparty Watch.
Yeah, we did not talk about Sparty Watch, and we wanted to make sure that we at least address that before our last thing. So can you just briefly explain what that is and how significant that is?
So during Michigan week, the week leading up to the Michigan State game, we always have a tradition of Sparty Watch, where historically some gung-ho Michigan fans have come and vandalized the Spartan, our famous statue on campus, so far as to, like, throw paint balloons at it. So we have made a tradition where us, like, members of the band, members of the community, specifically our, like, pseudo mascot Johnny Spirit, we all camp out around Sparty for the full week. The full week, particularly Johnny Spirit, he's always there. We go out, we wear, like, whatever, like, protective stuff we need to, and we guard Sparty. We try to stay on the lookout for anybody that looks like they're trying to do it harm, trying to vandalize it. And it's turned into this giant event. Like, we always have had visits from Mark D'Antonio has come and spoken to us while we're out there. We've had places cater to Sparty Watch because they know it's like there's a ton of us there. It's a pretty popular event to protect a little pride in our school. I've never had any particularly negative experiences with it. Last year we did have a guy in a blue and yellow Jeep driving around for about 30 minutes, but beyond that, I've never had anything overly negative. I know people have plenty of horror stories about it, but it's a cool little tradition we have.
It definitely sounds like it, and I don't think that it's worth it to go into any of the horror stories because I don't think we want to freak anyone out anymore.
Oh, gosh.
But I think as a final thing, we always talk about this to wrap things up. Obviously, Marching Band has a special place in everyone's heart for everyone who's done it in college, and you have a unique, perspective on all of this and how you got into it. So for those in your position, or for those in, who are considering doing Marching Band, don't necessarily have the experience and all that, or who do have the experience and want to do it, what would you say to them, to ask them or to tell them why you should join the SMB or why you should join College Marching Band in general?
I can't word it any better than you are a part of a community. Like, I genuinely was, when I had heard that I wasn't going to make the swim team, I was nervous. I was like, I'm going to struggle to make friends. I'm not going to have enough to do besides my classes. And when you join a college marching band, you have immediately a community of people that are going to watch out for you, that are going to take care of you, that are going to become your friends. Like I said, my mom always told me that when I joined it, I'd start with 300 friends. I would start college with just this community of some of the most genuine, the nicest, the most uplifting people that I could ever meet. And I have made some friends that I know are going to be lifelong friends from this organization. And it is something that I cannot preach enough, that if you're toying with the idea, even if you're in a position like mine where you don't have that much experience with it, it does not hurt to give it a try. I have found nothing but happiness from my experience with marching band. So.
All right, well, I think that's a perfect way to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on, Joe. Thank you so much. We really appreciate having you on and talking about your experience with the Tens, giving us a little bit more taste of what Michigan State and what the SMB is like. As for everyone, thank you guys for tuning in this week. Hopefully we made it a little bit shorter to make it a little bit easier for you guys to listen to, because I know that you guys have been talking about that. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you for having me again, guys. Great show.